Season 3, Episode 10, Identity Crisis. This episode starts with someone tipping off Cad Bane on the information of a new bounty from the Empire. This is, of course, the Force-sensitive baby that is found by Hemlock, which reminded a lot of you in chat and myself of Grogu, as he was also Force-sensitive. Hemlock wants Bane to retrieve the child, which is what we see shortly in this episode. Now, Dr. Carr on Mount Tantis wants to be the new chief scientist. Now, she asks for this higher authority from Hemlock, personally, I believe, because she just wants access to the vault and to know more about Project Necromancer. I think her allegiance to the Empire has been compromised, and she is starting to turn into the good guy. Hemlock lets her in the vault, and he says that these specimens are super important and need to be handled with care. Now, if you take note, when he entered the vault with Palpatine, they went straight ahead down the corridor. However, in this one, they took a right turn, down a different hall, a different path. So we still haven't seen what exactly was in that room that Palpatine went to. In this vault, in this room, we see children, and Hemlock says that they all have high midichlorian counts. So she starts to get talkative with the kids, and she has a very soft spot for them. And Hemlock says, don't, they're just specimens. You can see that he's all work and no heart. He's just a machine. Very, very evil, very cold. Cad Bane enters the home of the Force-sensitive baby, stuns the mother, and has Toro test the kid and sees that its Force sensitivity is indeed accurate. So they take the cargo, stealing the child. Now, all the kids at the vault think that they're going home soon. This, of course, is pretty sad, and it starts to get to Dr. Carr, where one tries to break free, and the clone commando stuns him, securing him to his room. Now, I gotta say, in this episode, it's awesome to see Scorch. He's a bit of a bad guy, and it's weird to see him in that light, especially after his story in the Republic Commando game. But he is still brainwashed by the chip, I suppose. Nalase and Emery speak, and we can see that the character of Dr. Carr is breaking as she really starts to regret working for the Empire and doing these horrible things that she is ordered to do to the younglings and the specimens. I think eventually, of course, that she's going to break entirely and she's going to start being the good guy. She's going to save all the kids, and the Empire is going to capture her, most likely in front of Omega, and it may end in her demise, with Omega probably using some sort of a dark side force ability that we haven't seen before, or something like that. That's just my theory as to how it's going to get exciting. Tarkin requests to speak with Hemlock, and it's pretty cool. We get to see old boy again, and questions why he's asking for so much of the Empire's money. Hemlock says that he can't tell him why, but it's worth it. I'm confused as to why Tarkin doesn't know about Project Necromancer. He knew everything when it came to Palpatine. He even knew a bit more than Vader, at least as much as suggested in the Tarkin novel, where it seemed like Palpatine trusted him more. Tarkin threatens him that it better be worth the credits, otherwise it's essentially game over for him and his entire operation. I would have imagined that Tarkin would know about everything going on with Palpatine and Project Necromancer. I think that he's more trustable than anyone else. Hemlock reaches out to Clone X, who I still think is Tech or Cody, and Clone X says that he spoke with Sid. Well, he says he spoke with the Trandoshan, who I assume is Sid, and from there he got the intel on Fee. Now, if you remember, Fee spoke with the Bad Batch earlier on, and that means that she knows where they are and their location, and he can track that with their communications or their previous calls, kind of like tracking an IP. Hemlock tells him to get Omega and that it's the last chance. Now, I think that this is either Tech that's been absolutely brainwashed, or it's Cody, or it's some sort of amalgamation of all of the clones put into one, like Deadpool. Cad Bane delivers the cargo, which is force sensitive, much like a Grogu, sort of, and Dr. Carr has issues with how young the specimen is. Again, another foreshadowing of her character just completely breaking and her becoming very soft for these specimens. Cad Bane reveals that he's captured many more of these specimens, so it's assumed that he is the one that the Empire has been hiring to get all of these force-sensitive kids. After all, Cad Bane does have experience with Jedi, and with these being kids, it's not going to be a problem. The episode pretty much closes out with Dr. Carr feeling very sorry for one of these specimen children, who originally thought that she was going home, and now realizes that she's not. So Dr. Carr pulls out the plush toy that Omega made for herself earlier on in the season out of hay and straw, and gives it to the child by leaving it at her door, watching over as the kid takes it, and has a little smirk on her face somewhat, and it seems like she's happy about that. So obviously what's going to happen here is that Dr. Carr is going to turn a full 180. She's going to start protecting all of the children, maybe setting them free, much like Omega did with Batcha. And then she is going to probably be caught by the Empire. Maybe she's going to try and escape with Omega, but it's not going to be successful. Omega is free. She watches Dr. Carr probably be sacrificed, and she may exhibit some latent dark side force abilities in a fit of rage. That could be a pretty cool episode in and of itself, because yeah, sure, maybe she has the force now, but does she know how to control it and control her emotions? And just as kind-hearted as she is, I think she's eventually going to have enough. She's kind of like Gohan in Dragon Ball. The Bad Batch Season 3 Episode 11 got a lot done in a very short period of time. As Fee lands on what looks like Polis Massa, she talks to her droid Mel 221. She seems a little disgruntled and tells him that she would fix him up just like she did on Ando Prime and Skara Nal. Now Ando Prime is a very cold planet covered in snow somewhere in the mid-rim. And this is an Easter egg from Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, the game. We also have it mentioned in Episode 2 Attack of the Clones. Now, Polis Massa is the same planet that Padme was taken to by Obi-Wan Kenobi to give birth to Luke and Leia Skywalker. This is where we get Clone X going into her ship and downloading the coordinates to Omega and the Bad Batch on Pabuu. As he gets what he needs and speaks with Scorch, he blasts off into space, telling Scorch that the Trandoshan's intel was right. And I think he means Sid, who once again betrayed the Bad Batch here, as he heads to Omega. Pabuu looks peaceful as always. Omega gives Tex glasses and her doll to Pabuu's museum, which I thought was pretty sweet. Until, of course, Clone X enters the atmosphere and lands where what looks like Asajj's Landing cave. Hunter can feel something is wrong, as he can feel electromagnetic frequencies on the planet shift. Clone X finds Wrecker and shoots grenades at him, blowing up the ship just as Wrecker sees him. The town is under a siege of fire as a Venator appears above the clouds, launching LAAT gunships piloted by clones, blowing up the town. Our boy Fat Mace is captured. Wrecker is unconscious and everyone went crazy during the watch party. Hunter is off trying to take control of a gunship, and Omega and Crosshair devise a plan, basically thinking that turning herself in is the best thing to do, which is really against what Crosshair advises. She starts to sound like Crosshair in this scene where he and her were trying to escape in the beginning of Season 3, and she starts to tell him to look at the bigger plan, that she's just a small part of this whole story. A little cog in the machine sort of thing, to kind of look at the bigger picture, to get the mission done, and that's to save the clones. So the plan is for her to get captured, she turns herself in, and for Crosshair to shoot the Imperial vessel with a tracker. Now, of course, I think this is going to create a huge fight with Hunter and Crosshair once he finds out that Omega let herself get captured, because he's probably going to blame Crosshair for it. He's going to think that, hey, you're still working for the Empire, and there's no way that you would let her go if you weren't. I think that could cause a bit of a rift, but I'm sure it'll smooth over for the sake of the story. After all, it was her idea, and that's pretty on par with Omega. So anyways, long story short, Omega turns herself in, Clone X takes her aboard with the stormtroopers, they blast off, and just as they do, Crosshair tries to shoot it with a tracker, but misses because the ship takes off just as he shoots, having been preoccupied with other clone troopers trying to shoot him. The episode ends, and we don't really know where it's going to go from here. Personally, I think that she's going to go right back to Tantis. She's going to be put into the vault with all the other children, perhaps, and they're going to do experiments on her. They're going to take her blood. Maybe they'll be successful with the thing that Palpatine was looking at in the first few episodes of Season 3, and maybe that being comes to life, whether it's a young Palpatine or a Snoke or whatever it might be. Maybe we're going to see a creature that will escape, or a Force-sensitive being that will escape and make its way into Star Wars later on, perhaps in the Dave Filoni movie or whatever might happen, Ahsoka Season 2. Or the other option is that she escapes with Dr. Carr, and it seems like Dr. Carr is really starting to develop a soft spot and just not into working for the Empire or Hemlock anymore. I think she's been planning to free all the children for a long time now, and when Omega comes back, she's going to see that Dr. Carr gave one of the children her little stuffed animal that she created. And I think she's going to start to pull on some heartstrings, and her and Dr. Carr are probably going to make an escape, as well as freeing all the clones and the children. And in the end, I think Dr. Carr will be captured, eliminated, and this will probably make Omega have some latent dark side force powers, just like Cal had in Jedi Survivor. So there's a lot of really cool fun stuff that could come out of this, but we know that there's going to be some pretty unhappy endings with the show, as this is the final season, and a lot of characters do probably have to go in order to further the plot or, bring it kind of to a conclusion for this particular show. I'm invested. I really love these characters a lot. I've grown with them over the years, and I'm sad to see them go. I hope there's going to be more of a continuation with them going forwards in some sort of capacity, but until then, we still have 4 more episodes, and I'm pretty excited for them. So thanks for watching this breakdown. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, remember, the Force will be with you always.